afternoon, everyone. My name is Alisa Sladzinska, and I work for the City of Chicago Department of Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, BACP. And welcome to the BACP Business Education Workshop Webinar Series. On behalf of our Commissioner, Rosa Escarino, I want to inform you that we are still open for business. Business licenses can be processed online or over the phone where applicable by visiting chicagobusinessdirect.org or calling 312-744-6249. We know that this is a difficult time for all Chicagoans, and we want you to know that we are here for you. We have adapted our regular business education workshops at City Hall into these webinars until further notice. If you are part of the Business Startup Certificate Program, you will get credit for joining this webinar through the registration list. If you want to learn more about the program, please visit chicago.gov/business-workshops. You can also visit our City of Chicago resource page for businesses, consumers, and employees impacted by COVID-19 by visiting chicago.gov/BACP COVID-19. And just a few housekeeping items. Please stay muted during the webinar. If you have a question, please use the chat and send your questions in to all panelists, not only the host. And with that, I'd like to introduce Hannah Fernandez of SCORE Chicago, who will be presenting how to really start your own business. Hannah, I pass it to you.
Thank you so much, Elisa. I really appreciate it. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for making the time to be on this call. Let me go ahead and make sure that I have the presentation set up. And then I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. All right. Can you all let me know if you can see the screen? I just want to make sure.
Yes.
All right, perfect. So before we get started, I really just wanted to commend all of you for really taking the time to invest in yourself and your growth. That really speaks volumes on the type of person that you are. Because challenging times like this, like the coronavirus and COVID, will really fuel the next wave of business innovation. And in the midst of these challenges are opportunities. Again, my name is Hannah Fernandez, and I'm the chapter chair for SCORE Chicago. And right now, I'm just so glad that you all joined in, because you are the type of people who not just see the challenges, but what can be done to start with yourself, to better yourself, and really take advantage of the opportunity that's ahead of all of us. Before we get started, I just wanted to give you a little bit about myself. I'm an entrepreneur. It's in my blood. Ever since I was growing up, my grandparents had always been business owners, and my mom as well. And I'm a proud product of the Chicago Public Schools. So I'm a Chicagoan by heart. I'm also a graduate of the University of Chicago. And before I went there, I was one of those people who went ahead, I was raised by a single parent. So my mom said, you got to make sure that, you study, you go to a great university, go to work for a corporation. And I said, all right, perfect, check, check, and check. And then there was a point in my career where I said, you know what, this is not making me happy anymore. I'm great at what I do, but there is this desire of being an entrepreneur that was really burning inside me. And so that's when I came to SCORE. So I'm a big believer in having mentors all around me. As you could see, there's mentors in my life from all walks of life. You could see the different mentors that I've had, and I wouldn't be where I am in my life right now without all of them. And so I'm a big believer in not only mentoring, but really taking the time to invest in my growth. And being a business owner myself, I am a big advocate for small businesses, because if you look across the country and you look across the city, more and more women, more and more minorities, more and more veterans are opening up businesses. So it's really important that we include them in decision making so that they're going to be in positions of power and leadership. And so those are one of the things that I'm really, really passionate about, and also giving back. So whenever you can, make sure that you develop genuine connections and give value wherever you can. This is the agenda today. We're going to go over about what it means to be an entrepreneur, how to do a personal assessment. The good news is there's various ways to get into business. We're also going to go over the critical components of a business plan, but you got to take action. And the thing is, you don't have to be alone. There's so many resources like SCORE Chicago, like the City of Chicago, the SBA, that could go ahead and help you. So what does an entrepreneur really, really mean? Look at this quote. Entrepreneurship is living a few years of your life like most people won't, so that you could spend the rest of your life like most people can't. So when you think about that, right? Entrepreneurship is really not for everyone. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. The misleading thing about success is that most people only get to see the finished product, but they never get to see that hard work, those heartaches, the blood, sweat, and tears to actually go out and be a success. So success is definitely more than meets the eye. And because you see that being an entrepreneur is not a straight line, success is not a straight line, right? This is one of the reasons why before we get started, you want to make sure before you build that business that you have a strong why. Why do you want to start a business? Why do you want to become an entrepreneur? Some people just are not cut out for corporate America. They don't like having a boss. Some people are very creative. Some people have that rebel streak. Others are not too educated. Others are too educated. So as you could see that to be an entrepreneur, there's so many different reasons. And sometimes people want freedom. They want to make a difference, or they don't have any other choice. This is the way for them to go out and support themselves, their families, as well as make a difference in their community. And so if you're listening to this webinar right now, whether you are an entrepreneur, you already have your own business, or you're working for a corporation, it's also still going to benefit you to think like an entrepreneur. What does that mean? Because if you're an entrepreneur, you have a growth mindset, right? And the thing is, even if you're working for corporate America or for somebody else, you're the type of person that really owns your growth. You own that number, you own that territory, and challenges and failures don't stop you. So if at the end you decide that, you know what, after all this, I'm not cut out to be a business owner, it's okay. It still benefits you to think and act like an entrepreneur. So what are the most important traits of a successful entrepreneur? Let's go ahead and take a personal assessment. Do you have what it takes? One is passion. You got to go ahead and make sure that you enjoy and love what you do. But you also need tenacity, because when times are tough, you want to make sure that you have your why at the forefront of your mind to go ahead and keep moving. And especially at this time, most of you can relate to this. In order to be an entrepreneur, you have to be comfortable with the unknown. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. And the thing is, you got to have such strong self-confidence that even if nobody believes in you, you got to believe that you can do it. You can make your dreams happen. And sometimes you got to defy conventional wisdom. And as entrepreneurs, we are visionaries. We can see opportunities where others don't. But you have to have a great idea, something that really fills the gap and serve the market. And all that wouldn't be good until you actually develop a plan and take action. You got to be a doer and pull that trigger. So now, one of the reasons why I started with mindset is that this is the difficult reality of small businesses. In the first year, 20% of small businesses fail. By the second year, 34% fail. by the fifth, half of small businesses fail. But there's also a positive side to this. While 50% fail in the fifth year, 50% also succeed. And that's where you want to be. And you can succeed if you do the right things right at the get-go. You go ahead and form a team and also surround yourself with mentors. And here are just some of the causes of why businesses fail. They fail because they didn't do the research to see if their business idea is viable to begin with. And they also underestimated the time and the money it takes to go ahead and make this business work. You know, we all think it's going to go ahead and work in 6 months and a year, but sometimes it's going to take a lot more time than that, and you got to be prepared. Don't miscalculate. And also, a lot of small businesses, they spend so much time working in the business, and they don't take enough time to work on the business. On means that you're going to go ahead and take yourself out of the day-to-day operations once in a while and really sit down and create that strategy. And also, you want to make sure that you have a product or a service that people actually want or need. So that's important. The great news is, despite all these challenges, there's actually multiple ways to go into business. And, 10, 15 years ago, I wish I knew this, because at that point, I just thought that being a business owner means that you have to go ahead and start a new business right from scratch. You don't have to do that. Yes, you can do a startup, but you could also purchase an existing business. You could buy a franchise. You could start a home-based business or online business. So let me go ahead and go over the pros and cons of each. So if you start a new business, the advantages are you're not hampered by previous images or technologies. You have a clean slate. You could choose any location, any name. You could be creative with logos and develop all sorts of relationships. And you could also explore new markets. And that's how you go ahead and realize your dreams. The disadvantages is that there's no base. You got to build everything from scratch. You don't have a proof of concept. There's no track record. So the risk is greater. And if you don't do anything to mitigate those risks, this dream could become a nightmare. So you want to make sure that you take that into consideration. Now, you can also buy an existing business. And the advantages to that is with an existing business, there's already an established clientele. There's suppliers and location. There's also a known and proven formula. And sometimes your name or the brand, it's already established. And when you buy an existing business, typically they'll go ahead and help in starting and running that business with you during the whole transition. And you have some historical data and records to review. And because it's established, it's also easier to obtain financing as well. The disadvantages are, why is this business owner selling this business? So you want to make sure that you want to dig deep into maybe some potential hidden issues. Is it debts? Do they have a poor reputation? What is it? You want to make sure that you do your due diligence. And there's really no guarantee that success will continue. So whether you start a business or buy a business, you need to make sure that you also put in the time, the effort to go ahead and make sure that it continues to succeed. Another option is to buy a franchise. With a franchise, again, it's a proven image, product, or service. There's also marketing and sales power. They've done the research for you. And you could have limited experience just because they already had the system, and the franchisors would also go ahead and provide you with a training and professional guidance. And there's also this continued consulting relationship with them. Plus, you're also going to go ahead and have access to other franchisees for help. The disadvantages are you lose control. You're not always your own boss. And you don't get paid first. Because with a franchise, there's royalty and other fees. And there's also binding contracts. And sometimes those franchisor problems are also your problems. So as you continue to evaluate and decide which way you want to go, please keep in mind all these advantages and disadvantages. Now, there's also home-based businesses. The advantage to that is it's a convenient work location. All you need to do is get up from your bedroom to your home office. It's also less expensive. You've got a flexible schedule. You could show up to work anytime you want to. And there's also some tax advantages. You could go ahead and write off a percentage of your utilities or some square footage of your total home. The disadvantages are you want to make sure that you've got the proper zoning from the city, from your county, from your state. And the Chicago Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, they're very good about having those resources to help you with that. And you want to make sure that you're the type of person that can really focus, because some people, it drives them crazy to be isolated from other people. So if you work from home, you want to make sure that you're not the type of person that needs a manager to keep you focused and get the job done. And because it's a home-based business, financing can be difficult because a lot of the lenders don't lend to home-based businesses. And there's also family distractions, and you got to be careful about some IRS scrutiny as well. Lastly, you could go ahead and start an online business selling things on Etsy, Amazon, eBay, or even creating your own website. The advantages are it's a lower startup cost. You definitely need a website and marketing, and you could really expand your geographic reach, not just the city where you live in, but throughout the state, throughout the country, throughout the world, if that's what you choose. So it's very convenient, accessible, and also flexible. The disadvantages are you want to make sure that you're on the side where your conversion rates are higher. And because there's a low barrier to entry for online businesses, that means that there's a lot higher competition. And there's also such high visitor expectations. When people are online, they want to make sure that they get that service, that product, and they want it now. And you want to make sure that you should be able to deliver that. And with an online business, there's really no personal contact. You can't go out and try on that piece of clothing. So these are just some different situations that you want to go ahead and also put into consideration. Now, now that you know that there's different ways to make money and go into business, let's go ahead and assess your entrepreneurial journey. And I just wanted to go ahead and remind all of you that if you have any questions at all, please type up your notes to all the panelists, and we'll go ahead and review it at the end of the presentation. So as a business owner, you do it all. Yes, you are the CEO of your company, but also, you're also marketing, you're also sales, your accounting, your HR, your technology, you're all that until you build a team and you recruit other people as well. So you have to wear many hats, especially during your first year. Now, one of the things that you really want to do is once you decide that you have a good product and a service, and one of the ways to do that is look around your neighborhood, look around your city, your world, and say, what gap is there in my area? Or how can I make this better? When you start a business, you don't have to go ahead and reinvent the wheel. You could also look at what's already in existence and how do you make it better and what makes you unique. Now that you know that you have a great idea that people want to buy, you want to make sure that you market yourself because people need to know you exist. You know you're great, you know you have a great product or service, but what good does that do if you don't have a market? If your market doesn't know about you and your company. So this is what marketing is. Whatever avenue you choose, whether it's creating a website, posting everything on social media, paying for paid per clicks, what it is that you're trying to go ahead and make sure that you know exactly the characteristics of your target customers. You got to figure out, where do they hang out? If you're talking about social media, are they most likely going to be on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? If your customers are, let's say, in the age range of 65 years old and older, well, for the most part, they're not going to be on Instagram, right? But most of them may be on Facebook. So these are things that you want to consider. And why do they buy from you? Why would they buy from you? There's so many competitors. Why you? What makes you unique? What makes you different? What makes your product better? And you gotta determine if there's a market for your products, because that's one of the #1 reasons why businesses fail. So before you spend your time and your hard-earned money you got to make sure you do your research. Now, sales, if you do your marketing right, then the sales will get easier. And you are going to be the face of your business. You are the brand. So you want to make sure that you're always selling. And one thing about selling is if you give value wherever you go, it doesn't feel like you're one of those sleazy salesmen or women, right? And one of the things to keep in mind is you got to develop that sharp and succinct elevator speech. If you can't tell me what kind of products or services you have, if you can't tell me and I'm your customer how getting your product or service would benefit me in 60 seconds and 90 seconds, then you've lost somebody already. So you want to make sure that you have your messaging really tight, and you got to put yourself out there. Part of success is showing up and networking. You know what they say is before you need a relationship, before you go ahead and need funding, you want to build that relationship ahead of time before you need it. Like I said, 80% of success is simply just showing up, because if you don't show up, you never know who you're going to meet, because sometimes it just takes that one opportunity, one person to change your life and your business. And this is talking less and listening more is actually one of the challenges of salespeople. Because, you know, when I was in sales, especially if you're new in sales, what you want to do is, I was trained for this. You know, I practiced my spiel, and I want to go ahead and present it. But the thing is, you'll learn more from your clients if you kind of just sit back and listen to them. People will tell you what they want and what they need if you just listen more. And you got to start building your email list. So when you're out there, you want to go ahead and make sure that you get somebody's business card or connect with them immediately on LinkedIn so that you can follow up with them. And there's different ways also to create marketing and also develop awareness. You could go ahead and start a blog and develop content, and also create some videos. And what you want to do in these contents is that even though it says sales, is you want to go ahead and give value, give value, give value, sell. Give value, then sell. Make sure you always give value and talk about the benefits to your clients when you're selling. And that's going to go ahead and increase the likelihood of you closing that deal. Now, branding. Branding is both personal and also business. The brand is really three parts. It's your promise to your customers and clients. It's also your personality and your unique selling proposition, or your USP. What essentially that means is why you. What makes you different of all the competitors and all the different people who sells the same or similar products and services? Why would I go ahead and choose you? And what you want to do is really develop that loyalty so that people would go ahead and insist on working with you, even if they have the opportunity to go ahead and hire somebody else. They want to insist on working with you. And part of that is really never compromise your integrity, because what you want to remember and keep this from now until forever is people do business with those they like and they trust, but also most importantly, deliver as well. Because you like your friends, right? You like your family and you trust them, but you wouldn't go into business if the friend that you like, the friend that you trust, doesn't deliver on the product on time. So even if you're going to go into business with somebody who is your friend, you want to make sure that you're not just saying, oh, it's just my sister. Oh, it's just my friend. I've known him or her since we were kids. No, you got to go ahead and deliver. They like you, they trust you, but you want to make sure that you deliver so you also get their loyalty and respect as a business partner as well. Now, price is the strongest signal as to your value or position in the market. So what you want to do when it comes to pricing is listen to what people are willing to pay. You know, it all goes back to listening more and doing your research. Look to see what your competitors are charging for similar products. And in order for you to go ahead and create value, you want to go ahead and bundle things together. Or another thing that works if you're in the service business is instead of just selling one package, you want to go ahead and sell 3-tiered packages. So for example, you could go ahead and put together a basic package or standard package, and then something that's you could call it most popular. And then some people, no matter what, they want to pay more. So you want to go ahead and create that premium or VIP package. So having either bundling things together or creating tiered packages, for the most part, most businesses find it very valuable. And you got to base your price on value, not the cost. Good example is when I went ahead and got my LASIK surgery, I didn't go ahead and say, you know what, doctor, you only spent 37 seconds on my right eye and 32 on my left eye. So I'm only going to pay you $100. No, I'm paying you thousands of dollars because you gave me the value of sight and you have the expertise. I don't want to take a chance on losing my sight. So imagine what you could do for small businesses, and remember, always base your price on your value and not the cost. And so service businesses, you have to be careful. You want to make sure that you allocate the time that you spend on adding to your pricing. Now, competition. Competition is something that you really need to know as intimately as you know your target market. You got to know the size and their operation, their price and their quality, so you could either make yours better and or comparable at worst. And you want to make sure that you also know their reputation. Do a SWOT analysis and everything. Figure out, okay, here's my competition 1, competition 2, competition 3. Now let's do a SWOT. You know, what are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Where's the opportunity over here, right? And where's the threats? Now, there's so many ways you go ahead and learn about them. You could opt in to their email. So go ahead and just go through and pretend that you're a customer and see how their customer service is, their website, their marketing. So do some personal visits and do some observations. You could go ahead and contact their suppliers, contractors, and just check out other businesses in your local area. And with competitors, there's a lot of data you could go ahead and use. You know, figure out what they offer. What are their price, features, and benefits? You know how they say in sales, features tell, but benefits sell. So you want to make sure also keep that at the forefront of your mind. How can this benefit my customers and my clients? And also try to figure out their marketing strategy, what's working, what's not. And there's various data sources that you could go and check out. One, you could check out their competitor websites and emails, their suppliers, trade associations, different chambers of commerce, and know that they're also going to be watching you as well. So know that. And there's actually a SCORE webinar that's going to go over this in more details. If you go to score.org, we have a lot of live and record webinars that you can take advantage of, especially now when we're all still home and sheltering in place and keeping safe. So take advantage of these free resources. Now, here's the nuts and bolts of business. So I know that all of us want to go ahead and just want to be creative. But what I say is, yes, you could be creative, but you want to make sure also that you pay attention to details, you know your numbers, and you make sure that all your I's are dotted, your T's crossed, especially when it comes to legal forms, insurance, and other regulations that may affect you and your business. So when you start a business, you want to make sure that you're incorporated, because your number one goal is to make sure that you separate your personal assets from your business, because you want to protect that. Now, you could be a sole proprietorship, a partnership, an LLC, or a C corporation. If you have, or if you know any, if you need any specific advice, you could go ahead and contact the Community Law Project. And there's actually different organizations like that could help you figure that out. There's also a lot of insurance considerations. You want to make sure that your property is insured. If you have any vehicles, you want to make sure you have workers' compensation, life insurance. If you have a business partner and a key person in your business, God forbid if something happens to you in your business or your business partners, you want to make sure that your business still continues. And nowadays, there's also a lot of cybersecurity risks, and there's also insurance for that as well. Government regulations, you want to make sure that you know the landscape of your industry. You want to make sure that you go to the city of Chicago, Cook County, the state of Illinois to make sure that you have your business licenses set in place. You want to check out that you're paying the IRS and you have allocations for both IRS and Social Security withholdings and payments. Now, this is where you could get some legal law advice when you're starting out. A lot of them are either offering this for free or at a reduced rate. So I mentioned the Community Law Project at thelawproject.org. There's also a lot of universities in the area. We live in such a beautiful city with great culture and a lot of resources, to take advantage of it. A lot of the top universities in our area, the University of Chicago, Northwestern, Loyola, they all have a law clinic, and they're able to go ahead and offer legal support either for free or at a reduced rate. So take advantage of that. There's also some websites for you to review to make sure that everything is set in place. And I could go ahead and send this over to you if you request it to me, or contact the City of Chicago or SCORE. Now, this is what every business owner needs. You got to go ahead and surround yourself and build that team. Remember earlier I said that you got to build relationships before you need them. So start talking to people. Start talking to bankers, to lawyers, accountants, insurance agents, and also a mentor. You know, one of the things that I love about mentors, and I went to SCORE myself when I transitioned over from corporate America into building my own business, is that the SCORE mentors are the real deal. These are the types of solid businessmen and women who have walked the path successfully. And they're volunteering their time and expertise to be able to go ahead and make sure that they help you. And this is all free. And the one thing about SCORE is that this is your taxpayers' dollars. Every year, Congress gives us money via the SBA to be able to provide these services for you, free mentoring, and also it's confidential. Now let's talk about money. When you're starting a business, you want to make sure that you have your operating costs. So you're going to have these cash outlays until the break even is reached and your business begins to show profits. And a big misconception of small businesses is they think that their costs and all these expenses stop right after launching their businesses. But no, you got to make sure, you got to prepare for these unforeseen circumstances, because even after you launch your business, there's still, yes, there are one-time startup costs, but there are also these monthly operating expenses that you want to make sure that you have month after month, that you could go ahead and pay for it until you break even, and then your business actually shows profit. So a good rule of thumb is to make sure that you have working capital for at least 6 months to a year, and that's minimum, or longer if you can help it. And consider both business and personal living expenses. So do your numbers. You know, how much do you need to cover both your personal and business expenses before you could go ahead and quit your job, before you could go ahead and tell your husband or your wife or your business partners, you know, I think we're good now. So make sure you know your numbers. Here are some key recommendations. Plan for the unexpected. And when you start, you want to make sure that you find ways to economize and also keep your overheads low. And the way to get a reality check or two is, don't go to your friends or family that says everything that you do is amazing. Go get free help from SCORE. Go get a mentor. And if you don't have enough cash to start your business right, wait until you do. But you don't have to wait until you've got everything perfect to get free help. SCORE's here, Chicago BACP's here, the SBA's here, and all of our resource partners. And we are more than happy to help and support business owners like you, because you are the backbone of our US economy. Now, when you're planning the business, you also want to go ahead and consider your personal budget considerations. So again, you know, what is your monthly cost of living, your rent, your food, all the necessities. Are there areas where you could cut back? Do you have any outstanding debt? Amount of savings? You want to make sure that you have that amount and you have at least 6 to 12 months of expenses covered before you go ahead and start a business. Otherwise, it's going to be a miserable time building a business if you don't have these checked out. And the good thing about SCORE as well is if you go to score.org, you could go to the search, and if you type in financial projection template, you're actually going to go ahead and get a template so you don't have to go ahead and start from scratch. Now, there's, again, many sources of capital. You could either get capital by giving up equity or debt. Equity just means that you're going to give a portion of your business to your investor, and the debt does not signify ownership. It's strictly by rates and interest rates. Now with equity, you could go ahead and offer equity to family and friends, business partners, and with debt, you could go traditionally to banks or credit unions, but there's also micro lenders as well. There's credit cards and other funding sources. As you could see here, the other funding sources, and this is actually another webinar because I don't have a lot of time to go over this, but as you could see, in addition to traditional funding, there's also other ways to get funded as well. You could go ahead and get some alternative funding from online lenders. My only caution is that you want to make sure that they are legit, because with the internet right now, there may be some lenders out there who are sharks. So you want to make sure that you're aware of that. And there's also equipment financing, factoring, venture capitals, and angel groups. From a lender's point of view, this is what you want to make sure that you know. When you go there, you've all heard of the 5 C's of capital. So you want to make sure character is typically based on your personal credit score. So a good credit score right now, it's if you're in the 700s or higher, then that's considered good. Now, if you don't have that right now, it's okay. At least you know that that's defined as good, and you could go ahead and start working on making sure that you get that. And so there's that credit rating. Also, when it comes to character, you want to make sure that you're careful about what you post on social media, because nowadays lenders and potential investors and business partners would actually check out what you're posting on LinkedIn or Facebook especially. Now, you want to make sure that cash flow is king. And they want to go ahead and make sure that you have collateral just in case the deal goes south. They want to make sure that you're able to go ahead and have the capacity to repay that loan. And sometimes they'll ask for capital. You know, they want to make sure that you're committed, that you have skin in the game. And another thing that you want to consider is they're going to look into your industry knowledge. If you're going into business, they're going to ask if you and all the other business partners have the skills and expertise to be in this business and to be able to run it efficiently and, of course, profitably. So they're going to look at also financial projections to see if you have the management skills, and they're going to go ahead and figure out your competition. Because when you look at it, lenders and bankers, what they're doing is, are you worthy of the risk that we're going to go ahead and take? Or would we rather go ahead and invest our money in somebody else, in another business? And what you want to do is convince the lenders, just like you would convince your business partners or investors that, hey, I am the right person, I am the right business to invest in. And now that you notice, what you want to do is create a plan and implement. And with a business plan, this is where you could go ahead and come into SCORE and talk to a SCORE mentor. Again, we're there to offer you guidance, and this is free. It's your taxpayers' dollars, so take advantage of it. And you don't have to be alone. You know, a lot of the SCORE mentors shared with me that when they're mentoring small business owners, especially those coming from the west side of Chicago, the south side of Chicago, a lot of it is really just the first conversations before we get to technicals and business planning. It's really all about mindset. because sometimes talking to a mentor may be the only people that you have. Because a lot of the time, sadly, when a person wants to go out and start their business, their family members don't believe in them. That's why you got to go ahead and get that self-confidence, right? And so, you know, at SCORE, the mentors and I would talk and say, not only are we business counselors, but for the most part, you know, we're also psychologists, a lot of people, right? Because when you're a business owner, what you want to do is mindset is everything. Building a small business can be tough. So you want to make sure that you also have a tough mind. You've got that grit, that tenacity, but also the know-how to seek help when you need it. So when you go to chicago.score.org, you could go ahead and click on Find a Mentor, and you could also go ahead and click on the webinar. So right now our in-person events are suspended, but online support is definitely available. Now, when you go to chicago.score.org, mentoring is available via phone or also video. And like I mentioned, there are live and recorded online webinars. And even for me, you know, sometimes I'll go ahead and check out these recorded webinars or live webinars just to go ahead and make sure that I sharpen my skill. You know, if once you're an entrepreneur, you never want to go ahead and stop growing, because if you're not growing, it's not like you're stagnant, you're actually dying. So you want to make sure that at any given opportunity, you take this time to grow and to really build yourself up as an individual and as a business as well. And in the website, there's also blogs and articles that could go ahead and be helpful in you creating this business. Now, we have a lot of resource partners all across the country, all across the city. The SBA, we've got Chicago Business Affairs and Consumer Protection, who is doing this collaboration with us. There's also the Better Business Bureau, SBDC, World Business Chicago, and we also have a lot of partnerships with the libraries as well. And so, again, take advantage of all these resources to serve you, because at the end of the day, we all want to see you succeed. Because when you look at it, small businesses are the backbone of the economy. It's Main Street more than Wall Street that's creating jobs. And so when I look at it, when I mentor small business owners and an entrepreneur, I'm not just helping one person. When your business succeeds, you're going to go back into the neighborhood and help it out. You're going to go and make a difference in the community. You're going to go ahead and ignite our economy. So in helping a small business and an entrepreneur, not only is it going to have a multiplicative effect, to me, the effect could be exponential. So business owners and entrepreneurs like you listening right now are definitely the best worth of my time, the city's time, SCORE's time, or all of our mentors to invest in. And you gotta be persistent. Don't give up on your dream just because it's gonna take the time to accomplish it. You know, when I go ahead and set up a goal for myself, I don't wanna go ahead and live and say, what if I started this during that time when we were all locked down during COVID? None of this what ifs. Start it now. And you don't have to be alone. You can get help. And persistence is key. If you look at history of all other entrepreneurs who started businesses, if Howard Schultz, for example, gave up after being turned down by banks, listen to this, 242 times, there would be no Starbucks. The same thing with Walt Disney. If he quit too soon, he went to all these different people and his theme park concept was trashed 302 times. There would be no Disneyland, Disney World. And the same thing with J.K. Rowling. If she stopped after being turned down by multiple publishers for years, no Harry Potter. So definitely keep going, but do it right and be smart about it. And again, SCORE, the City of Chicago, BACP, we're all here for you. Our phone number is 312-353-7724. And you could go ahead and call that number or email us to go ahead and schedule an appointment. Again, visit our website at chicago.score.org, and we could go ahead and make sure that you're set up with a SCORE mentor and also some of our webinar offerings as well. And really, my best to you. Thank you so much for making the time to be on this call, especially at a very challenging time like this. But one thing I can tell you is, in a challenging, unknown time like this is where the biggest businesses are built. This is where the greatest innovations are created. And I want you to be one of those people that can go ahead and make a difference in your life, the lives of those around you, in our community. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing screen right now. And Elisa, if you could go over some of the questions that the listeners asked, let's go ahead and do some Q&A at the time that's left over. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right, so one general question would be, what loans are available from the Small Business Administration?
There's a lot. So right now there's the Paycheck Protection, the PPP. And what that is, it's the term is 2 years at a 1% interest rate. The good thing about that is if you use that loan for payroll, it could essentially turn into a grant, because it's up to 100% forgivable if you allocate that for payroll. There's also, in addition to the PPP, there's also the economic injury disaster loans. And with that loan, what so for that one, the interest rate for small businesses is 3.75%. And for nonprofits, and these are private nonprofits, the interest rates are 2.75%. Now for that EIDL loan, if the amount that you're looking for is greater than $25,000, then collateral is needed. But the SBA had told me that just because you don't have collateral doesn't mean that you'll get declines. So those are two. In addition to that, there's also the SBA is offering if you have a current SBA 7A, which is their working capital loan, or if you have a current SBA 504 loan, which is their loan that's real estate. And the one requirement for that is if you use that for real estate, 51% of the square footage has to be for your business. Then the SBA, because of the COVID-19 right now, they're actually providing relief, and they're going to go ahead and cover your principal and also your interest rates for the next 6 to 12 months. So many sources.
Wonderful. Let's see. What websites or where would you go to find some market research for an industry?
For an industry, the best way is to go ahead and go to a trade association. Because if you look at any industry at all, you're always going to find their trade associations. So, and another actually treasure trove of resources is if you go to the local library. If you go to Harold Washington Library, I think the business section is on the 3rd or 4th floor. You might want to go and verify that. But the great thing about them is that's a business section. And if you ask the librarian, hey, this is what I'm looking for, here are the data and statistics that I need, the librarian will actually go ahead and help you with that.
Great, thank you. Hannah, you briefly spoke about your own transition from a full-time job to owning your business. Can you share a little bit more about that transition?
Definitely. So my transition really is, I worked for Pfizer for almost 8 years. And at that point, I did well. It was one of those jobs that really paid well. You got six figures, you've got a company car and all these other perks and benefits. But by my fifth year, I'm sitting there like, you know what? I'm great at what I do, but I need to be looking for something else. This burning desire to build my own business just kept on persisting. If you look at my background, even when I was a kid, I thought I was going to go ahead and become a doctor. I was always in science fairs. I was just one of those like big nerds where I went to science fairs. I went all the way to state and won all sorts of awards. And so if you told me that I was going to be an entrepreneur, I would think you're crazy, because that wasn't my path. I was going to be a doctor. So, but somehow, as I began to do sales and to really understand about what it takes to become a business, I was like, this is actually something that I could do. And what really provoked my path was before I did my funding business, my business partners and I, my original business partners, one of them, he worked for NASA, and he had this software where we were able to convert one image into wall art. And then I was still working for Pfizer, and he came to me and said, hey, do you think this is a good product? And I said, yeah, it is. So he gave me a sample of it, and I put it on, my wall, and I threw this party, and I invited a lot of people from the different industries I work with. So Pfizer people were there, and my other friends in the industry. And actually we had some orders that night before we even created a legit business. And so when he said, hey, I'm a scientist, I have this great product, but I don't know how to go ahead and sell this efficiently. And I said, that's what I get paid for. Like, I love to market. I love to go ahead and do sales. And so I recruited a couple other people who are my counterparts at Pfizer, and also my sister, to be part of this business. And when we kept meeting it, we said, why don't we go ahead and just make this into a legit business? We've got the product, we've got the team. And this is where we came over to SCORE and said, we don't know it all. The difference between me working for Pfizer and me building my own business is that I don't have that multi-million-dollar budget. You got to make sure that even if I had savings on my own, I had to be resourceful and be careful with that money. And so that's the whole transition. And that's one of the reasons why I realized early on that even though I have some understanding about sales and marketing, I didn't know how to build a business. And that's the same thing also that I hear from professionals who are even doctors and lawyers, where they're really good at their crafts, but then nobody learns business at school. And this is where came to SCORE, and you get the mentor.
Perfect. And that segues into a question about SCORE as an organization. Does SCORE offer feasibility studies for product ideas? Or maybe can you go over a little bit more what SCORE offers?
Sure. So, at SCORE, there's a whole trove of information within not just the SCORE office, but websites as well. So if you look at SCORE, you're going to go ahead and get mentoring. So the history of SCORE is we've been a resource partner of the SBA since 1964. And across the country, we have over 10,000 volunteers. And the great thing about us is if we can't find that industry or expertise that you're looking for in the local chapter, we could go ahead and reach out to the region. We can reach out to the national headquarters and say, hey, our client is trying to go ahead and look for a mentor in this field. Do you have anybody? Because one of the things that we want to do at SCORE, the message is this idea of one SCORE. Especially now with COVID-19, more and more people are really, even if you're against it, you're forced to use technology, right, and leverage it. So there's really no boundaries right now. If somebody in Pilsen, if somebody in Chatham right now is looking for an expertise that we can't help in the local chapter, we've got the national strength to be able to do that. So one, that's mentoring. And that's in over 62 industries that we offer with. And in addition to the mentoring, we also offer low cost or free workshops, but now webinars just like this. And if you're not able to go ahead and join in on a live webinar, on the website, there's also a lot of recorded webinars as well, in addition to other content, blogs. So if you look at the whole component of a business plan, we have a webinar for that. We have a template for that. So definitely go to chicago.score.org.
Right. So I know we're recording this webinar. Will we be able to post it on the SCORE website? Or for those who want to review this information again, where would they be able to find it?
Yeah, we'd be more than happy to share that with you for sure. We can do that.
Great. You talked about the 5 C's. Can you just hit on those 5 C's again?
Yes. So really the character, right? It's when you're talking about funding, the character is your ability, your historical record. They want to make sure that you're the type of person who has been for the past 8+ years paying their bills on time. And that's one of the critical components of your FICO score. So your FICO score is, really a good one, is in the 700s. If you're not there yet, that's what you want to go ahead and aim for. Also, in addition to collateral is really just, real estate. Collateral could also mean heavy equipment. And sometimes lenders would go ahead and also take invoice orders to go ahead and use as collateral. And this is just to make sure that if you don't repay the loan, that they have a recourse. That's the purpose of that. And there's also conditions in the industry. So you want to make sure that if there's anything, whether it be regulatory, that's going to go ahead and affect your business or industry, you want to make sure that you're on top of that as well. And they also want to go ahead and make sure that you have skin in the game. And so sometimes, they want to go ahead and make sure that you also offer some capital as well. And that really shows your commitment. And so those are the C's. And I could go ahead and send this information to you too, Geraldine, if I missed anything else. I mean, everybody could go ahead and contact me at SCORE if you have any further questions. Again, our website is chicago.score.org. So if you send us an email, we'll go ahead and answer the other questions and provide you with more resources.
Absolutely. A simple question was, what resources do you recommend during this stay-at-home order? I think you covered a lot of them, and SCORE being a number 1. They asked about video tutorials. You mentioned SCORE has archived webinars. So definitely check out their website.
Absolutely. And there's also YouTube, right? If you want to learn a skill, that's what if let's say there's a platform or a skill that you want to get and learn how to become a better, video editor, or how to market better in addition to SCORE, you could also just search and watch some YouTube videos. There's some amazing ones.
Great. Let's see. Where do you recommend to find seed investment? Or you talked about also about angel investors. How do you go about getting into contact with these people?
So it's all about showing up. So my caveat is, before you contact an angel investor or a venture capitalist, you want to make sure that you have a pitch deck ready and that you know your numbers. So there's a lot of questions that you want to make sure that you know the answers of before approaching investors and also bankers or lenders. So for example, there's certain questions they'll ask you and say, what is your total gross revenues? You got to know those numbers. If somebody asks you that question, you'd be surprised when I ask business owners that question, they'll always start with, well, the situation is, no, you got to know your numbers and what is it? What are your annual gross revenues? And you got to know the amount that you're looking for as well. So when you're approaching an investor or a lender, another mistake that a lot of small business owners do is when they approach me or other people for funding, they'll go ahead and say, hey, I need $100,000 or I need $1 million. And then when I ask them, so what are you gonna go ahead and allocate those funds for? They can't break it down.
Mhm.
And for the most part, you don't need that $1 million, you know, but if you do, you wanna make sure that you wanna be able to illustrate to the angel investors, to the venture capitalists and bankers, how that would impact your business. So in giving you $100,000, what is the return of that? And sometimes it's not always cash, but it typically results in more revenues anyway. But sometimes a business can go in and get a capital investment to improve a process, you know, to buy equipment, so that instead of creating 100 products and they could go ahead and make that 1,000, but you want to be able to put everything in writing, your business plan. And one of the things that you want to be able to do in addition to your numbers is why you? Why would they invest in you? So you want to make sure that you have your message, you've got the expertise. If you're lacking in something, right? Let's say you're the great face of business, but you hate numbers. You either need to bring in somebody, take on a business partner, or hire somebody that would be able to complement that weakness. And so if you're able to do that, there's a lot of different sources, especially in Chicago. There's the Hyde Park Angels. If you go ahead and Google Hyde Park, you know, angels, or, you know, venture capitalists, angel investors in Chicago, there's some that would pop up. I wouldn't suggest you going to investors without at least a proof of concept. You got to make sure that when you go there, you can prove that you have a product and a service that the market wants and that people are willing to pay for. Because when businesses owners come in to score and they say, I have an excellent business, the truth test is, okay, great. Are people willing to pay for it? Have you had any sales? And can you scale that? And so before, Elisa, I said, you know, before going to angel investors and venture capitalists, I want the business owners in this call to realize that don't go there first. You know, work on sales, work on creating those revenues, a proof of concepts, and build that plan, and then go there. But start doing your research now. Have a conversation.
Great. So another component of a business plan is marketing. What resources would you recommend for marketing, including if you're looking to build a website, email, social media marketing, if you just want to kind of lead into what's out there?
So it all depends on your products and also your skills and personalities. But when it comes to marketing, there's many ways to market your business. One is, you know, just going out there and network. Tell people about your products and services. And don't just, you know, go out there without a plan. When you go to networking events, you want to make sure that this organization has the potential clients and customers that you have. So if you can go ahead and know that, then definitely go to a networking organization. Partner up with the chambers of commerce. And so those are one way to do it. Joint venture partners, strategic alliances are really key, because when you look at small businesses, one business's problem is somebody else's solution. So look for businesses that have services and products that would actually complement each other, because now you're not a direct competition. If you could position your, you know, you identify an organization that has a big database of people who could potentially be your market, then go to them and position the kind of values that you could bring them. So that's one of the ways to market yourself. And then there's also social media, and I'm talking about when you're beginning. A lot of people want to go ahead and begin on a shoestring budget. So there's post on social media, post and position yourself so that you are the authority or expert in your field. And so what you always want to do is post things of value, post informations, post tips that would go ahead and help your target market and your clients. And of course, there's also the PR as well. You could go ahead and send out press releases. So you always want to go ahead and stay connected to what's trending, especially in your industry, and go ahead and grab what's happening right now in current events and relate that, tie it into the article or the blog that you're going to write, and you're going to go ahead and grow organically. And there's also, in addition to organic growth via social media and blogs, and you could create videos on YouTube. That's one of the biggest engines out there. Create a YouTube video. It doesn't have to be perfect. You could create a 30-second to a minute and 30-second video, and just to go ahead and give people a little bit of taste of what you can do for them. And really, it's all about giving value, right? And lastly, there's paid ones as well. There's some paid marketing ads via LinkedIn, via Facebook, Instagram, and even the Google paid per click. The one thing that I would advise you, though, is if you hire somebody that's going to go ahead and do your marketing for you, different people are going to go ahead and report outcomes and results in different ways. So if you're going to go and hire somebody to let's say do your marketing campaign for you, you want to make sure that you're clear on what you want to get out of that, because some people will go ahead and be hired and you're paying only for clicks, right? Or you're just paying for the number of visits on your website, but number of clicks and number of visits does not always, in fact, for the most of the time, it doesn't always equate to conversion of sales. So you want to go ahead and make sure you be careful with that. And if you do the paid per click campaign via Google, what I suggest is test it for 3 months. And if it's not working, kill it. Don't keep wasting money after that.
Great points. This is kind of more of a broad question, and I'm not quite sure what this person is leaning towards, but what do you recommend for partnerships and operating agreements? I know you mentioned having a business with a partner, so if you can just talk about maybe the balance between that, kind of synergy, and maybe even the legal aspect of it, like what should you have on paper?
Definitely. So with partnerships, you want to go ahead and set very clear expectations right from the very start. So you want to go ahead and do an assessment of what everybody brings to the table. So for example, a person can go ahead and say, I'm very good at building accounts. And then one person's going to go ahead and say, well, let me go ahead and build our website. And you want to make sure that there's actually somebody in the team that's going to compensate for other people's weaknesses, right? So it's always, with the SWOT analysis, I always tell people to do that for not just your whole business in general, but even for partnerships. Let's go ahead and say, what is this person's strengths? What is this person's weakness? With this one person, what is the opportunity and what is the threat? So you can go ahead and do all that, not just for your business as a whole, but also for each of your different joint venture partnerships and even your specific partnerships. Because if you don't go ahead and set expectations right from the get-go and put it in writing, this can definitely go ahead and cause a lot of trouble. And one of the things that my business partners and I did, well, and I'm glad we did this is, sometimes when you all start a business, we either give too much equity in the beginning, or you find out that the person is just all talk, right? So they make all sorts of big promises, and in the end, you know, they don't really do anything or they don't bring anything to the table. So when you're creating your percentage of partnerships, you want to make sure that on the first year, each of the partners is invested right away. So for example, if I own 50% of the business and another partner owns 25 and the other one 25, what you want to do is for the first year, maybe we're all vested 10%, right? For the second year, now that you put in the work, let's go ahead and invest you in that other 25%. That way, if the person ends up being a total lemon or they quit on you, then they're not going to go ahead and get that full 20% or even for, you know, for yourself, 50% when you didn't deserve it. And lastly, when it comes to putting things legally, what you want to do is you got to bring in an attorney. So there's a lot of different resources. Go to community law projects. And even within SCORE, we have some volunteer lawyers that said, hey, for SCORE clients, Hannah, we'll go ahead and offer pro bono for 30 minutes. And so take advantage of those. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And then another question is, obviously, as entrepreneurs and startup businesses, you want to get in as many customers and clients as possible. In the beginning, should business owners be offering products or services for free or doing complimentary, any type of service? What are your thoughts and advice on people just starting out on price point?
Again, this varies by companies. So what you want to do is a lot of businesses, when they start, they have a loss leader where they know they're going to go ahead and provide this service or product for free in hopes that, hey, try this out, you know, first one's free. And then if your product, and you're counting on, you know, my product or my service is so good that I'm going to go ahead and retain them. So it's really on a case by case basis. And when you do that, you want to make sure that you also put a time frame and an amount limit as well. You know, let's go ahead and say this, and put that as a cost of doing business. You know, put that in your budget and say, we're going to go ahead and allocate this percentage of product and for this long. And as long as you set metrics in everything that you do, if you're going to go ahead and say, yes, for every 50 products that we give out for free, if we could go ahead and get a higher quality product at a greater cost because of what we did, then it's definitely worth it. But it's what I want to do is it really depends on your specific business. And when it comes to services, I really think that if you're offering services, you should always provide at least a 30-minute to an hour consulting, just because not only is it going to help your clients, but it's also going to help you as a business owner really get to know them. Because one of the ways to really succeed in business is you want to make sure that you're actually bringing in customers and clients that would really benefit from your product or business. So you want a good fit as well. And by offering that, you know, free, let's say, consultation, that's also going to help you as a business owner weed out some of the clients, because we don't want all the clients. Some clients are problem clients, you know, you don't want a big headache. And from my experience, the clients that have everything all together, they and also the ones that are the good clients, the pleasant ones, the ones that are really good to work with, for the most part, they're the ones that bring you the most revenue anyway. So so do your numbers and see what kind of return you're going to go ahead and get from that, and then go from there.
All right, thank you. And just one more clarification, we will not be emailing the presentation, the recording, or the PowerPoint slides to the attendees. The webinar was recorded, and we will be posting it on SCORE's Chicago website, which is chicago.score.org. BACP is more than happy to link towards that webinar. But once again, we are not sending individual emails to people with the presentation. And we had another question. 1 second. Okay, Hannah, if you already have your LLC from the state of Illinois and the EIN from the IRS, do I need to register with Cook County as well?
So as a disclaimer, the best way is I'm not a lawyer. So what you want to do is definitely contact the county directly if you have a county specific question.
Okay, I believe that concludes all of the questions. We talked about a lot of topics from marketing, financing, obviously the wonderful things SCORE is doing in terms of resources and just the one-on-one mentorship. We cannot speak highly enough of the organization. If you're looking for more questions, set up some time with a mentor, get linked up. I mean, Hannah, you spoke yourself how vital that was when you were starting your own business. So
Absolutely.
It's all about a network of sharing information. So, and just a quick announcement in terms of the Business Startup Certificate Program. Once again, it is a program that BACP runs. You need to complete 9 workshops within 6 months, and then you're qualified to apply for a loan with the CIBC Bank. If you're already signed up for the program, that means you attended a workshop at City Hall and you have a curriculum card. We will be giving you credit for attending this webinar on our end just through the registration list. If you're interested in signing up, please visit chicago.gov/business-workshops. And you could see the email in there. Just shoot us an email that you're interested in signing up and we will start tracking. Once again, Hannah, thank you so much for sharing your time with us and your expertise. I know a lot of attendees were sending just wonderful messages saying thank you. Great information, great resources.
It's my pleasure, and we are here for you, so definitely stay connected with SCORE Chicago and the Chicago BACP, because we definitely want to go ahead and see you succeed, because when you succeed, our communities and our neighborhoods succeed as well. So all my best to you, and thank you so much for taking this time to invest in yourself, your growth, and your business.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Bye.